Are you wearing like some sort of
Sorry.
like tinted moisturizer? No,
No,
not.
I'm
No.
not. No,
Oh my
just,
god, it's radiating.
But
You're glowing.
Hello, everybody. What's up? We're all here. We made it. Welcome to the first episode of the podcast.
Yes, welcome everybody to the Recreational Podcast. I'm
hey
Holly.
guys. I'm Sean.
And for those of you who don't know, here we have Casey.
Kaceytron, period.
So yeah, this is like, honestly, this is kind of weird because it's like, wow, we were talking about finally doing a podcast and here we are, we're finally doing a podcast. You know, this is something that many people talk about and dream of doing, but never get around to doing. I mean, don't lie. How many of you in the chat have thought about starting a podcast but never did it?
A lot of people in the chat. I see her lighting
Thousands.
up saying, you know, I could be starting a podcast now, is what they say.
So I'm getting a lot of people saying that they wouldn't want to start a podcast, actually.
They're lying.
They're
Most
wrong.
of them are liars. Let's be real.
So I guess we should start off by talking about what made us want to start a podcast.
Definitely, and I actually, you know, I'm excited to hear what you ladies have to say because for me, I know that it's about the spiritual journey that we're about to go on as
Absolutely.
three sisters.
As podcasters.
As three podcasters, three people living in the middle of nowhere.
That's true. And we're going on it together as well as with you, Chad. We're going to be learning so much together. That's what it's all about.
As you guys know, we love to learn. We're eternal students. So that is something you guys know about us. If you watch our content, you know that we love to learn. And we like to say that we're eternal students.
And I mean, by the way, you guys, we do all stream. Check out Holly Cannabis and Shania West 69. They're also streaming the podcast right now. This is going to be a group thing that we do every Wednesday. So we're really excited to get started with it. You know,
this is the first of 2,344 shows.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yup.
Did we talk about? Never mind.
Well, and, you know, we delayed the podcast premiere because our teacups got delayed because that ship got stuck for 10 days. The tea party continued in 2021. That boat got stuck for days. It slowed down. Did you know it slowed down 12% of the world's economy? That boat that got stuck?
I didn't know that. I saw the tweets about it.
It slowed down something like 12% of the world's economy. Like it had like 12% of the world's economy or something in the canal.
That's wild.
So random.
I guess we should move on to our main feature of today.
Let's get into it.
That's right. Today we're going to be talking about hot tub streamers. It's a very hot topic recently, the hot tub streamers.
As it should be,
a simmering hot topic. There have been a lot of opinions on this, a lot of vocal people.
We've evolved. Female streamers have evolved.
Are gorgeous women.
It's true.
So I think like before we really get started with the hot tub streamers, is I feel like we should talk a little bit about the e-girl streaming meta, as they call it, and how this meta has evolved over the years, you know, from the early days of Twitch to, you know, now with the hot tub streams. You know, it's like we've seen it all, and just when you think that these girls like have done everything there is to do, you know, they come out with something else. you know, the whiteboards, the body art, the biggest D's, you know, they're always thinking of new ways to push the envelope. So are there any schemes that you can think of over the years? I mean, I did feature some of my favorite girls.
Yeah. Now these are class acts, actually.
You know, the gamer girl bathwater with Belle Delphine, that was revolutionary.
Honestly,
I mean, that started her career.
Honestly, everything she's kind of done, like in terms of like her marketing, has been pretty good. I mean, she also sold the condoms, and those sold out. And I'm just saying they're never gonna get used ever. She's just, you know, I think she's very crafty. I've never really watched any of her like YouTube content or anything. I've just seen her Twitter, but
I like her aesthetic.
And then I see Hey Guys here.
Oh, Hey Guys is another Twitch streamer.
Besties.
Oh, she's an icon. She's a Twitch icon. She's the Twitch emote. Hey Guys. Can we get a Hey Guys in the chat?
Can we get some Hey Guys in chat?
Friends.
Love
my
Hey
God.
Guys. But yeah, we've got like the exercise streams, the yoga streams, the pole dancing streams.
Oh, I mean, pole dancing. I mean, talk about a sport. I mean, the definition that you see that these women are developing through working out their bodies and working out their cores in such a wonderful and
honestly, like,
talented way.
Sean and I saw Hustlers together, and
With
I think we both cried. If I'm remembering correctly, I think we both started tearing up. We were like, this is beautiful.
You could probably find it on my Twitter. I said it. You know, people love to bring up old tweets. I said that Jennifer Lopez was an early Oscar contender.
I mean, can we just talk about Jennifer Lopez's career for a second?
Then she wasn't nominated.
Oh, we were...
Oh my, yeah, that was...
No, we were like really on about how Hustlers should have gotten... They didn't get anything, and
really?
I thought it was one of the most...
For the work that those women put in to getting in, I mean, I don't know if
J-Lo do all of her own like pole work?
She did all of, she trained for 8 hours a day for 3 months.
Cardi B
and then when she went and showed
it,
then when she went and showed it off at the Super Bowl, you know how the conservatives reacted to it. You know, it was Super Bowl 2019, right? Or was it 2020?
It was like just a few weeks before the shutdown.
Yeah, it was right before Corona. Wow.
Yeah.
It's taken me back.
I forgot about that. But I mean, I honestly thought it was such a feel-good movie. Like it had me feeling like adrenaline after I watched it. I loved it. I thought it was great. I couldn't believe that it didn't win anything.
It won awards, just not enough.
Pole dancing should be an Olympic sport. Like, oh my gosh, some of the pole dancing you'll see it is just
work the clock, not the cock. Absolutely. Absolutely diamond form. Live by that, die by that.
And I just see a group of women who have lived by that and died by that. And it's inspiring.
Can we talk about the body art for a second? Because some of this body art that these girls are doing on Twitch is just insane.
Honestly, the first time I saw it, you know, because like I'm a Twitch newbie, like not so much now, but like compared to like a lot of people, it's like the first time I saw like the body painting, I was just like I had never honestly seen it, but like I had never seen body painting at all, I think, before that. Not to that degree. I had seen people like paint things on like clothes, but not like this.
I thought Lara Croft, is that you? Because Amarath and her Lara Croft Tomb Raider
cosplay.
The sculpt was phenomenal.
Amouranth is like a cosplayer. Like, she's done a lot of really good cosplays, to be honest.
I'm like, name one cosplay Amouranth didn't do that she did not knock out of the park.
Amouranth has like the #1 OnlyFans, like in
right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw it like on her Twitter or something. She has like the rank #1 OnlyFans.
Well, did you hear that? Did you hear that Bad Bobby? Danielle
Pagroli.
Yeah, Danielle Pagroli.
Oh,
she raked in so much money on her 18th birthday. I think she raked in like $1 million or something.
Yeah, she made $1 million in 6 hours of starting her OnlyFans.
And
Isn't that phenomenal?
That's also quite a controversial topic.
It is
amongst sex workers, because like a lot of sex workers that are young are just like, leave us alone kind of like reaction. I've noticed, like, they're kind of like, okay, but she's of age, like, can you guys not talk about it? Like, a lot of porn that people watch, a lot of those actresses are 18, and it's like, I mean, I guess that's like probably true to some degree, but like this is a different thing. Like, whenever you like go through Twitter and you see see it trending about her, and there's like all these like creepy old men who have been like, I've been waiting for this, just like literally openly saying that. I'm like, that's a problem.
It makes me think of 2004 and Lindsay Lohan and Mary-Kate Olsen and Ashley Olsen, they all three, and Hilary Duff and those girls all were coming up around that time, 2003, 2004. And our United States president, our former United States president, Donald J. Trump, he said about Lindsay, he said, she looks like she's a mess. He said she's a messed up girl, but she's going to be good in bed. She was 18 years old.
For real?
She was 18 years old. Her parents were getting divorced. Her dad was going to prison. And that's what he said.
So unfairly treated at that time.
And that's what Donald Trump said about her.
But it was because she was on the cover of Rolling Stone in this gorgeous like leather, cover. Leather top, and she had like the sexy hair blowing
with
and
the
it's
guitar, right?
No guitar for that one. That was the back of our CD though.
Oh, okay.
And it's just, but yeah, it just goes to show for years how women have been kind of shamed.
Well, and really just
judged,
seen as these like sexual objects, and it's really like kind of like this awful thing. I think that women, young girls especially, have to like, it's something that we come to terms with at like a very young age. And I know this is something that some men and young boys have to come to terms with too, but at a very young age, like, we learn as women that we're like prey, and that's a really horrible like reality to live with as like a young kid, to be scared to like walk down the street or whatever. And I don't know, and I think it just really speaks volumes.
Like, women become desensitized to being like looked at sexually from a young age, because I remember like whenever I was young being looked at like in really creepy ways by like older men. And you just kind of become desensitized to it
because it's easier than to acknowledge it every time. Like, that would be exhausting.
Well, and I think it becomes, you just feel like it becomes second nature, because you're not in the role of the person in control. It feels like they're taking your power at that time, and people become desensitized, just like you said. And
I'm
it's wrong.
Desensitized.
Yeah, and
I'm sorry. We just got so serious.
No, yeah. I mean, it's hard. I feel like it's a hard topic not to get serious about. But I mean, I think it's like
you know how when you talk about this type of stuff as a woman, when you talk about these types of things, you're like already like insecure about sounding like a feminazi, and men just thinking, oh, this is a woman being an annoying feminist, all men are bad, da 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 da. And it's like, no, I'm not like that. Like I feel like anytime I talk about like issues that women face as a woman, I have to reiterate with being like, oh, I'm not like that. I don't think all men are trash. It's just like, you know, it's like one of those things that like you vent about, I guess. Like I was on a podcast with like Minx and Nikki and like a few other girls just a few weeks ago, and it turned into like us kind of just all venting about shit that we've dealt with as women. And it's hard whenever you get like a group of women together, not just to vent about it, you know, it's just something that they have in common. But yeah, it's just so annoying how anytime you even talk about stuff like this, you have to like reiterate like, no, I don't think all men are bad or what the fuck ever, you know?
I mean, I think the fact that we have to continuously reiterate that is
annoying too.
Their problem. It's not us. Like the fact that we're just talking about these things that we have to deal with, we shouldn't have to feel insecure about it. Like it's not like a feminist take to say that young women and young girls come to a realization at a young age that we're prey to men. Like whenever I was first like sexually assaulted by a man, I was very young, you know, very young. And I mean, it's not a feminist take, it's just reality. That is a reality for women. And I think it speaks volumes because it's just,
is it like, do you remember
perpetuated
how it was like a thing to like grab a woman's ass? Like it felt like, especially in the 2000s or some shit, like I just remember that shit happening in school all the time and being like,
I mean, it happened every weekend at the bar.
Yeah, it's like, what the hell?
I mean, it's definitely, and I feel like a lot of my anger comes from like towards men on this topic is like, you know, there's no outrage on their side, it seems. Like I feel like if men had to walk down the street and were scared that somebody was gonna violently rape them, this would be talked about differently. There would be outrage. And I feel like that's not an irrational take. But I mean, like what we're kind of talking about today is, you know, sexual liberation and hot tub streamers and
women empowerment.
I mean, and I think there's just so, it goes very, very deep whenever we're talking about someone's like sexuality or, you know, how they feel with themselves and, you know, if they feel sexually liberated or not.
And if you leave, you're a sexist.
I mean, I think that's,
by the way,
it's just like a perfect time
during this conversation, you're a sexist. If you do not care what women have to say about how they feel, then you can just leave and admit you're a sexist right now, you piece of shit. If this is when you stop listening, then it's probably because you're a sexist and hate women. And you're also homophobic because Sean's here.
Well, and I also feel like, you know, I feel like there's this, and I'll probably get, you know, heat from this.
I doubt it.
The thing is being like the very, very core value of being a feminist is believing that men and women are equal. So that's saying in itself that men's rights are also part of being a feminist. Like we believe in equality for men too. If you don't, then you're not truly a feminist.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, women joke about it, but it's not. I mean, for years, for centuries, we've been treated and we've been made the joke. So, I mean, it's anybody who is a man that has the least bit of sense, I feel realizes that. So.
But,
I mean,
you know, I guess, and let's take this back to the hot tub streamers. Because a lot of people would say, you know, that like the hot tub streamers is just like, what's the word? They're like, you know, just like allowing men to like sexualize them and making it like more okay for them to sexualize other women or something like that. I don't know. We're gonna hit on all of the talking points and discuss them in depth.
Very interesting.
But yeah, hot tub streaming, it's the new. It's the new.
Well, and quite frankly, I think you ladies both, you both had your minds in the right goal and the right direction, because you had wanted to get hot tubs.
Oh my God, yeah.
We've been wanting
I've been talking about this for so long. And I have to say, like, I feel that Amarath probably was one of the first to make hot tub streaming a thing, because I know I saw her in a hot tub, you know, probably 2 years ago, and I thought to myself, Matt, wow,
right? The hot tub streams aren't new. The hot tub streams aren't new. One of the things about the hot tub streams that I've noticed that just seems to be like a common thing is they're all that inflatable hot tub. You know, it's like they all use the inflatable hot tub. So just imagine, like, it just is very volatile to have like all of your content relying on just a inflatable hot tub. Like, I hope they have extras.
Well, I know, Amarath has a real hot tub.
Yeah, she does.
But I think she's just been working. Yeah,
no, she
she's
says
getting
it's
it
a cold
repaired.
tub. Yeah, she's working on and I hope she gets the repair. But
I
I'm like,
too.
Some of the rooms that these girls are streaming from in there, like, look at the room that Amarath is in with her hot tub and how she has it decorated. I'm like, is that her garage, or like, where are they putting the hot tubs? When they first started popping up, like, what were your initial thoughts with like how the hot tub streaming has taken over?
That girls who saw Legally Blonde 20 years ago have now hit 18.
Oh my God.
And I'm so happy for them, because I loved Legally Blonde growing up was one of my favorite movies. And I remember the scene where Elle Woods is trying to get into Harvard Law School. And she's, you know, she's just in that little sexy, like, hot tub.
That
and
pink
she's
bikini with the sequins.
Yes. And she's getting fanned. Yeah. She's getting fanned by men. You know, honestly, that's the one thing with our hot tub streams that will be different from all the others that you see on twitch.tv is it'll have the fanners.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's like such a cute little part of it. I mean, so I feel like this like term, this like hot tub streamer, like I feel like it's literally become like a term for anybody who like fucking gets in a hot tub. Like, it's like, I feel like if I just got in a hot tub once and people saw me, they'd be like, oh, hot tub streamer. Like, I feel like it's this new thing. I feel like it's this new thing. Like, I feel like it's like the rebirth of the titty streamer.
No,
but
that's exactly what it happens. It happens. No, I say this like every like year or two on Twitch, there's like this new controversy with female streamers. Like, now it's the hot tub streamers. Like, whenever I first started, it was just twerking. Cleavage. Yeah, it was twerking. Then it was like the whiteboards and the cosplays. And then there was like another thing that got really popular. Oh, the body art was another thing that like became like the new meta. And now it's, you know, we're on to the hot tub days. It's like, what will be next? Honestly, what will be next? Like, I was thinking about it, and I was like, what if somebody did like a pool stream, but they had like an inflatable bed, so it was like they were doing a bed stream in their bikini while in the pool, because, you know, the bed streams were also kind of like a meta for a while,
right?
With the intimacy.
I would just need it to have like a canopy or something, so it wouldn't be so sun.
So for those of you who are just like completely like out of touch, like, I guess like the best way to just describe this, like, you know, like what this whole thing, this hot tub streamer, it's just any woman that streams under the just chatting section in their hot tub. You know, some are known for like modeling different bathing suits, you know, for reaching sub goals or donations. You know, some have been criticized for that, and, you know, have been criticized for allegedly being, you know, overly sexual and, you know, violating the TOS. So the terms of service. So
how does Twitch how do they determine that?
Right. And that's, I mean, it's in their terms of service. They actually talk about swimwear.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they talk about the swimwear and, what you can like wear. And it's not like super conservative. It's like, yeah, you can have parts of like, you can have your ass showing, but just like, and basically like, you can't just like have your entire ass showing. It's like, they leave these things like very, very black and white, I feel.
Yeah.
And they do it on purpose.
So they can pick and choose.
I feel like in certain respects, like it's just like, sure, like that could like work if we had an understanding.
Wait a
more
second.
So.
Somebody in my chat just said Mia Malkova had 30K and she did a hot tub stream? Nuh-uh. And I missed it?
Really?
Oh my god. Was that today?
Wow.
She must have known we were starting.
It is like the hot tub streamers are the new Well, while we talk about controversy, let's get a little into the Indie Fox Amarath.
Let's get into
feud. It's honestly one of my favorite developments. It's one of my favorite developments with the hot tub streamers. So it all started when I think what really started it is when Indie Fox made this tweet, and hold on, I have it right here and I'll read it. Seeing another streamer copy my stream verbatim to my changing outfits, to my overlays, to my stream titles, everything, even outfit styles, is disturbing. It makes me sick to my stomach. Someone is stealing my creativity because they're a bot with no ideas of their own. They pretended to be my friend only to be a snake. The lies and greed is unreal. The bitch is a multi-millionaire and can't even stand if anyone does a little bit better streaming. They have to copy my whole stream. I can't imagine being so gross and actually shameless scum. Like, get your own vibe. You have 2 million followers. Make your own content, disgusting thief. Apparently, she even stole from Pink Sparkles, too. And then she, like, goes on in the tweet to say that she stole from the wrong Fox or whatever that is. But with the timeline of it, I think that, like, in this tweet, she even says that she pretended to be my friend. I will say, like, Amarath, like, reaches out to other female streamers all the time and invites them onto her podcast and is, like, I feel like Amarath always has the attitude of, like, like, women should support women. Like, that's always the vibe that I've got from Amarath. Like, I like Amarath a lot. And I think that she did genuinely try to befriend her. And I think that Indie Fox taking Amarath doing a hot tub stream as, like, her stealing her creative thoughts is just ridiculous. I don't even
choosing to get into a hot tub.
Right? I don't even think that, like, I think that Amarath really started going hard about it when Indie Fox started it first. I feel like Indie Fox threw the first stone. She threw the first brick.
Indie Fox was the first woman to ever step inside a hot tub. From what I understand.
That's my understanding of it.
So that's
whenever
like
Rome
basically
was built, she got in the very first tub.
That's the legend. That's how legend says it.
But the way Amarath has taken it, because you'll see, she, like, look at how Amarath copied, like, her, because it's like at this point she's just doing it to fucking piss her off and trigger her. But then Indie Fox pulled another one on Amarath, where, do you see that Jake and Bake came on Indie Fox's stream as Amarath, and oh my god, like, honestly, I was a little bit.
That's Jake and Bake?
Yes, I was a little bit disappointed in Jake with this one. I was a little bit disappointed. But isn't it kind of like, honestly, that wig, like, he did pull a pretty good Amarath.
No, I'm insulted by the wig. I'm insulted by the wig.
See, I didn't even realize who that was.
Yeah, that's Jake and Big.
Spill, Sean.
I didn't even realize that, I honestly, I was like, who is that person?
He seems like a clout chaser trying to steal Amarath's, clout.
I saw the differentiation, and honestly, where is his creativity? Because he literally just copied off of her verbatim. even I mean,
Is that why he got banned?
Wait, did Jake and Bake get banned?
He was banned
Nuh-uh.
for like 3 days or something. I
Nuh-uh,
swear.
for that? No. Nuh-uh. I don't know. Does anybody in the
I
chat
don't know?
Did
I thought he got banned recently.
Does anybody in the chat have the tea? We all need a tea emote. Does anybody in the chat have the tea on that? Did Jake and Bake get banned for that? What did he get banned for?
Emote.
No, he got banned for he was driving with an IRL stream and he was like I guess he read a chat message, but the way he described it was kind of like, because he was like, I was in a place where my car wasn't even like moving or something.
That's why I literally will say, I will put my car in park and I'll be so dramatic about it and I'll be like, my car's in fucking park. I've even like taken my keys and like turned the car off and I'll be like, I just want to fucking say something.
Hands up.
Because that's what people will be like. It is so frustrating. But that is a totally different topic. Let's not go down that like rabbit hole. But damn, I'm kind of like, whoa. Yeah. I didn't even know that was Jake and Bake.
Can we get the mods doing a Twitch poll on who's winning, Amarath or Indie Fox?
Well, the numbers say it all. I hate to say it.
Could we get one of the girls to go live on Twitch to perhaps declare themselves a winner?
It is funny seeing like how they'll be petty back and forth to each other. Like, it's just one of those things that's not that serious, so it's, pretty funny.
I think they probably both see it as like easy.
But I guess
content.
Mia Malkova just came in and won it all.
Well, I mean,
as she should.
Like Mia has like her fans that are dedicated to her. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I don't know. I still feel like at the end of the day, like it's like Amarath has her fans that are dedicated to Amarath. Like I genuinely think that. Like I don't feel like there's that much of like a competition because I feel like they're going to have like their viewer base either way, kind of no matter what they do, and I don't know. I just can't see any other choice but Amarath. Mm. The only other logical one would be Mia Malkova, but like, as an Amarath stan, if I was like, I'm gonna watch a hot tub stream, I would watch Amarath's.
I will say, like, I don't have a problem with Indie Fox personally, but it's like I have to be on Team Amarath. Like, I just have a history with Amarath. We've been on each other's like shows and stuff. But I will say, I feel like Indie Fox, like, I think that she'll be around for a while. I think she's got her audience. I think that she'll have some longevity if she really keeps her mind to it.
Yeah, no, I really feel like
creating.
I just feel like there's a market for everyone. It's like I don't know. There's all sorts of different types of, body types on Twitch. I'm one of them. And, there are, there's millions, of men out there that are very interested in me doing a hot tub stream. And I think that they would even choose to watch mine over theirs.
They would
because the body, because
your.
Honestly, I will and say, it's not even. I think Amarath has the ideal body type.
I mean, I am not even built. My body type is not ideal, but to some, there's some people, that are into this.
That we are.
There's a market for it, is what I'm saying. There's a market out there for anyone.
Someone. We are marketable to someone.
So I don't think that they should, I don't know. I think Amarath has the right idea. Said that she was doing the hot tub podcast. And I thought that was such a good idea. I was like, honestly, I might even watch that. So it's just like all of, It's like her and a couple of other streamers doing, I don't know, just streaming in their hot tub and chatting together. So I think, I don't know, like she's streaming with other women. I think it's a cool idea, and I think that's a much better attitude to have. And you know, maybe like, I don't know.
Maybe they could just get in the hot tub together and like.
I don't think Indie Fox and Amouranth will be sharing a hot tub together anytime soon. Though, can you imagine? Like, honestly, that would be a way for them to fucking make money. Amouranth, Indie Fox, like, you know how like Jake Paul and KSI or whatever did their fight. Like, imagine the money that they could make off of that.
I'm sorry.
They could take it to YouTube.
Wow.
Honestly, though, I'm sorry, but Amouranth, she works out like all the time. Amouranth is built as fuck. Like, my money would be on Amouranth.
I could never.
But I don't condone women on women violence.
I can't get in her hot tub. I can't get in her hot tub. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, like I couldn't do it.
It's like, girl, you tell me that's from Walmart, that hot tub. I'm gonna.
Somebody did say that I have pretty eyes. I feel like whenever people make comments like that, I just don't know how to take it. You know what I mean? Like, you'll be talking kind of like bad about your body, and they'll be like, "You have pretty eyes."
Well,
do you ever just feel like they're like really reaching? They're like, you know, they're just like, Well,
whatever they would describe your hair 2 years ago, it was just like, please be kind.
The next thing though is it's like, how will they kind of like trump the next one? You know, is like what people are saying. You know, they're like,
how will they,
as these hot stub streams evolve? You know, there's been a growing concern.
Taken it as far as it'll go? Like, can they do no more?
Well, I think that all that really can be done left in the hot tub is perhaps a 24-hour stream. To see if
that
your
would
viewers
be considered
will
that would
watching.
be TOS, because that would probably be considered self-harm for being in the hot tub that long.
Well, you could change the temp.
Yeah, a cold tub.
True.
But yeah,
you could do your blue. You could do like blues for the cold temps. You could do reds for the warm temps.
So
you can do a whole fashion show in 24 hours.
I do kind of have a hot. I guess I don't think it's like that hot of a take on like the hot tub streamers, because I'm not against hot tub streaming, but if you read the terms of service, it says, and I copied it right here for you guys. You can see it on the slideshow. If you read the terms of service, it says, swimwear is permitted as long as it completely covers the genitals, and those who present as women must also cover their nipples. Full coverage of buttocks is not required, but camera focus around them is still subject to sexually suggestive content policy. Coverage must be fully opaque even when wet. Sheer or partially see-through swimwear or other clothing does not constitute coverage. So I guess, like, I will say I feel like I have seen, like, some cameras, like, really focusing on, like, women's ass. But I don't think that all of them do that.
Keeping camera angles now?
No, I don't feel like all of them do that. Like, I don't even think Indie Fox does that, and I don't even think Amouranth does that. But I've like been clicking through on Twitch and seen like a few streams, and maybe they end up getting banned because they are being too sexually explicit. But sometimes like I'll be scrolling through like just chatting on Twitch, and I'll see some streams of like some random girl that I haven't heard of before that has like over 1,000 viewers, and it's just like her in a like thong bikini, like laying on her stomach next to a pole with like the camera pointed at her ass, you know? Well, and I feel like that is against the terms of service, but I don't think thong bikinis are against the terms of service in itself, if that makes sense.
Do you think that those girls are going to ruin it for the rest of the Twitch community, or the people who are enjoying the hot tub streaming?
I mean, I don't think so at all. Like, I think overall, like, anything that brings in viewers, like, I feel like overall, I would argue helps everyone on Twitch, you know, because it's like as Twitch grows in viewers, you know, it's like more viewers that could watch other people's streams. You know, like Mia Malkova did a hot tub stream today and supposedly got 30K viewers. I bet a lot of those viewers, maybe they've never been on Twitch before.
Right.
And
they've never
maybe
seen a hot tub before.
Maybe they've never seen a hot tub before. Maybe they've never seen a woman in a hot tub before. But, you know, maybe they'll go from Mia Malkova's hot tub stream to Amarath's hot tub stream. And then Indie Fox's hot tub stream. And the next thing you know, they're watching Ludwig.
Twitch is supposed to be a place where you can find, you know, niche markets.
Right.
And, you know, hot tub streaming is probably going to be its own category in the next 12 months. And it will help people.
I feel like the issue with there being a category for it, besides the fact, like, people not using it,
right,
is, like, that's, like, literally, like, I can't, like, I feel like they're, like, I might be on a vacation sometime, and, like, what if I was, like, I felt skinnier, and I was, like, I would get in a hot tub on stream, and, like, I wouldn't want to necessarily have to go under, you know, a hot tub category where it's like, oh, here's where you can go to go sexually harass women. I feel like that's not fair either. I feel like that's not, like, really a resolution. I just feel like, there's just gonna be this, like, kind of gray area with it, with, like, the hot tub streaming. And, like, sure, like, some people might be taking advantage of it, but it's like, how can we really say? And we can't really monitor all of those people. And it's like, that's just, like, life. People take advantage of any gray area they see.
And
no, definitely. For sure.
And anyone who does typically detest those gray areas in a lot of categories are people who didn't think of it first, which are, you know, it's the men who are outraged at this topic. It is typically men.
I have seen a lot of, like, honestly, a lot of women on Twitch have kind of, like, I guess, become a little bit annoyed with it. Like, this was a tweet that was kind of popular on LSF from some, I don't know, I guess it was a teacher or something, but she says, I just thought I would check out the just chatting section on Twitch. Man, there are a lot of hot tubs. Made a sharp exit before my brain started dying. And then Daff said, I don't think it's fair to hate on women doing the hot tub meta. Twitch has the power to do something about it, but chooses not to. Their inconsistent enforcement of rules is definitely strange. So, like, they have, like, had, like, women that are, like, kind of annoyed with it, I guess. So I guess, like, if you try to see from their perspective, because I feel like you're more leaning towards, like, not being annoyed with it. If you're trying to see from their perspective,
a lot of women's arguments,
right?
I've listened to a lot of arguments, and, like, the one, like, okay, like, Cutie's reference, and I don't know if she still stands by this or not, but, like, this is, like, really, I really haven't watched a lot of hot tub podcasts, but she said something to, like, the reference of, like, you know, let's say we, like, live in an apartment and we all have our separate like, what would they be, like, duplexes or whatever the fuck, and somebody leaves out their food and they start bringing in roaches. You know, that affects everybody else that lives in the apartment.
Is their food their tits?
I heard, like, that, like, reference, and I was just
right. No, it was, like, one of the things that the Housewives podcast kind of got into a debacle over it.
Oh, the Housewives. I did. Okay, that's another topic, I guess. Like,
yeah,
they've covered it a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
So I heard that, and I was just kind of like, okay, but, like, here's, like, the thing, though. Sure, you could argue that maybe, like, once somebody who streams in their hot tub goes offline, like, might go into, like, Cutie's chat or something and might say something to her that's, like, against her, like, not in her comfort zone, and they go against her boundaries or whatever. It's, you know,
why is that why is that someone else's fault?
Right.
It's the man's fault, really.
Absolutely. And I think that, like, you know, viewers have to recognize that everybody's going to have different boundaries as a streamer. Like, we're all human, so we're all different people. Not one stream is the same. So, like, that's one point, like, I would make. But also, it's like the argument would be, like, say you're the person who owns the apartment. Like, you can't necessarily tell people how to run their lives. Like, maybe you can do things like bug bombing and, you know, trying to get them out. But at the end of the day, you can't force somebody to do something, I guess, you know, against their will. And I feel like, especially whenever it's like this group situation, you know, like, oh, like it affects everybody. It's kind of like, okay, so you live in an apartment, you don't like it, I guess you have to get a house. And
so you know, are you saying that the house is OnlyFans?
No, I'm saying like, you know, like, yes, Twitch is going to like have these different things like that happen on the platform that you might not like, or you may not necessarily want to be associated with, but you're part of Twitch. So it's like, you have to decide, you know, it's like, okay, like, are you going to go to a different platform? Are you going to try and make a platform of your own? Because Twitch is going to continue to evolve. And like, I understand like the frustration and like the worry that, you know, like these men are going to come and sexually harass you in your stream. It's not something that anybody wants to deal with. But I also feel like men also recognize these boundaries as well. Like, I feel like
not enough blame is being put on the men.
Well, I feel like men, like, they recognize different boundaries. Like, somebody's boundaries might be totally different. I'm just saying, you know, like, if Amara's in a hot tub, like, she's definitely strict about how people talk to her, but like, men definitely, you know, simp for her, as they will say. And like that's totally fine. Like, she feels comfortable with that. Those are her boundaries. And I feel like men, like normal men, will go into that stream and they'll just enjoy that. But I feel like there's a different type of man that will go into women's streams that he sees definitely has a different kind of boundaries set. Like, they don't really present themselves in that way at all. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they're intentionally going and trying to make somebody feel uncomfortable. You know what I mean? It's like it's like almost
their intentions. Like, they probably get off on it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like it's almost like this kind of like they want to go and humiliate somebody.
Masculinity.
Like, they want to go and humiliate somebody, and they're not going to go and humiliate Amarath. She's heard it all. You know what I mean? She's literally heard it all. They're not going to go humiliate Amarath by saying something sexual to her.
They'll find a young ingenue
that's like maybe like clearly has different boundary set. Maybe she's a little bit more like wound tight, whatever. Like, they want to go upset somebody, humiliate them, make them feel like unequal. And I feel like that's the issue with trying to be like, no, don't do these hot tub streams, because we're giving in to these types of people and they'll take advantage of that. Like, I'm never ever going to agree to giving in to those types of men, because men that go and sexually harass women on the internet and want to go make them feel uncomfortable know what they're fucking doing. And it's not just because somebody got in a fucking hot tub. Like, men have been sexually harassing women way before Twitch was ever a thing. And whenever Twitch was just a gaming platform, women were sexually harassed then. So
they were being called out for being on the platform 7 years ago, 8 years ago, for being on the platform. So I think that to go against, you know, the terms of service, to get some more people to continue to kind of like break the boundaries.
I mean, I just feel like these types of men that are like, oh, like, I don't know, taking advantage of this type of thing, or like the same types of men years ago, whenever Twitch was just a thing, that were really, really disrespectful and, you know, said things about women just playing a fucking video game and acted as if like women couldn't just enjoy like a hobby like a normal person, and instead acted like it was like something to do with like I don't know, like for male attention.
Yeah, their motives
and
were questioned.
It's just like disgusting. Like I feel like we can't give in to men like that. We have to stay strong together as women. I guess
I've like tried to think about it like if I'm thinking about it and I'm trying to like because, you know, like we're both like pretty like I feel like we're all pretty like pro women, like women should take advantage of, like you said, like there's that gray area. People are going to take advantage of it, as people do whenever there's gray areas, and it's like people are just mad about it because it's sexual. People take advantage of different gray areas of Twitch all the time that you could argue are worse, like with some of the scams and shit they pull. But it's just because it's sexual and there's that taboo around stuff being sexual, especially like female sexuality. It's like people get extra angry about it. But I guess like if I'm trying to think of like, okay, if I'm trying to think what would make me the most like annoyed or upset about it, if I'm like trying to like think of like how to be mad at it, or the girls that do hot tub streams. And I feel like the most that I can say is I feel like the worst thing about the girls that do hot tub streams all the time is I feel like there are like female content creators out there like putting more effort into what they're doing than just like sitting in a hot tub and getting less recognition. And, you know, it's like, it's not like that's like the hot tub streamers' faults or anything like that. They're just doing an easy hot tub stream. Like, fuck it, you know, like sex sells. But I guess like that's the unfortunate part of it is like, you know, sex sells, and for women to be able to sell, they have to be sexual. I guess like that's like the part that, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, again, that's like not really on the women. I guess I just wish that like women got more recognition for like other content that they do on the platform. You know, like Amaranth, for example, like sure, she does the hot tub streams, but she does so much other fucking content. Like Amaranth streams all the time. And I feel like she's constantly changing it up with her stream. Yeah. And she's always doing like something creative. She's keeping like shit going, you know? I guess that's like I said, like if I'm trying to figure out what's like the worst thing about it, that's what I would say is the worst thing about it, is that for women to like get views on Twitch, they have to be sexual. And that's not like the women's fault. Like sure, take advantage of it, whatever. Like a lot of these women are like, you know, fucking hot, they have great bodies, they shouldn't be ashamed of them, you know, like whatever, take advantage of it. It just sucks that that's like the way that women have to get recognition.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I fear is that, you know, and again, it doesn't really even, my biggest issue doesn't even go back to like the hot tub streamer. Again, typically it really is just about the person who will be behind the, you know, the keyboard warrior or whatever, what have you, like, you know, disgustingly talking to these women and, you know, saying these things.
I feel like those types of men who are exclusively just going into these women's chats, who are just like, you know, streaming in their hot tub and they're just like looking to sexualize somebody. Like, I think just like maybe ask yourself, is that really somebody you want as a viewer in general? Just somebody who's just out there to do that. And I'm not saying that's all the viewer base that Amaranth has or Indie Fox has or any of them, but I'm just saying, you know, if those are the viewers you're worried about, like you have to think to yourself, like those men are never going to see you as equal as a woman because all they're looking at you as a sexual object. So fuck those men. Like I don't care. Like I honestly feel like, you know, Amaranth is a fucking angel for taking that. Oh, like, you know, she's taking that on. She's taking it on for us. Yeah. You know, she's fighting for us. Like, I'm just like, you know, I'm just saying, like, I think there's also that point to make, but like going into like these types of men, like, you know, who are just looking to sexualize somebody, like, and who have these like terrible ideals about women. Like, let's talk about
incels.
The I word.
So this one, okay, I'll read this off really quick. So it started off on Twitch. Any woman who streamed on the platform in the early days of Twitch was met with strong criticism, labeled titty streamers for showing the slightest bit of cleavage. And we wanted to talk about how it's kind of shifted a little bit, because it's definitely gotten, I wouldn't say it's great now, but it's definitely gotten better, like, compared to when I first started. Because, like, I would just wear, like, low-cut shirts, and that was considered, like, really risque at the time. And it's like, it really wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But the funny part about it was how big of a deal people fucking made out of it. That was the funniest part.
Yeah, and like it really was a time where there was like a lot of, I feel like it encouraged like a lot of women or like other women to kind of go after each other on the platform.
Mm-hmm. It started because of a cat fight almost.
I mean, just because it's just women have been pitted against each other for years, so I feel like there's just this nature, and it's hard to break. It's really, really hard to break. You know, I feel like
the word itself, catfight, is a sexist word. You know,
it is.
It's
true.
So
I was thinking, this is off topic too. I was thinking about how just like actually disgusting and sexist the word bitch actually is. Like, whenever you think about like the actual definition of a bitch, like that's disgusting.
Such a degrading way, yeah.
It really actually is such a degrading thing to call a woman.
Have you been called a bitch, Sean?
Oh, it typically, yes. I mean, it has other words typically attached with it, but yes. Yes.
Yep. I'm like bitch.
That's just like the nicest one. In my opinion.
I'm just like, wait, what words?
Oh,
you know,
wait, is bitch titties? Like, I don't think that's anything like I've been called that. I've been called that.
I'm like, I probably have too, I assume, at this point.
Oh, it's anything with like little. Anything like little bitch.
I know, I've literally been called that. Have you guys heard that? I'm asking, like, genuinely. Has anybody ever called you that?
I'm like, probably, but not that I can remember to where it stands out.
It just like really I just remember it really sticking with me, and I was like, that's like the least offended I've ever been by somebody calling me a bitch. Okay.
You're just like, huh.
Yeah.
That's how you decided.
Sometimes they get creative with it.
Some of these tweets that I found, because they're pretty funny. If she had sex with multiple men before the age of 30, she is not marriage material. She gave away sex to strange men for free, while you, her husband, must pay for that sex with time and money. These women are easy to spot. Just look over the wall. Like, what?
Wait, what?
It's just like some guy saying like some incel shit. Like that if a woman has sexual partners or multiple sexual partners before getting married, they're not marriage material.
What is the man if he has had sexual partners before the age of 30?
Oh, that's fine. You know, that's just like one of the things that they do with like the way that they sexualize women is they want them to be like pure, and like that's more sexualized because these men are like, oh, I want to teach this woman.
Well, I mean, white on a wedding day is,
right.
I mean, it's meant to present purity.
I will say, yeah, like, I think that overall it has gotten better. Like, I feel like some of the incel behaviors have kind of, like, tamed down a little bit from where they were 5 years ago. But I still feel like, we have a lot of work to do.
There are still turncoats.
We have a lot of work to do.
Right. And I feel like it was like a kind of like a thing that like a lot of content creators did kind of like work towards, It was more like, I don't know. I felt like they had to kind of call upon their viewers too to kind of like behave differently, Mm-hmm. And I do feel like there was like that encouragement. Gatekeeping and seldom.
But yeah, moving on to that, from like the incel phase, like I feel like we just went from like, I don't know, like I feel like 5-6 years ago there was like this huge incel wave, and now we've kind of moved on to this wave of like sexual liberation with women, you know, like some notable things, the WAP song, you know, Cardi B, Meg Thee Stallion, Lizzo leading the way, of course, Beyonce.
Well, I mean, think about how much work Miley Cyrus, realistically, think about how much work Miley Cyrus did from the time she has been performing, you know, to continue to, you know, and you know, people want to say that her stuff is like overly sexual or whatever. It's performance art, and it's, I mean, Casey and I have seen, you know, Miley live, and honestly, it
was a show.
One of the most fun shows I think I've seen, and I've seen a lot of
Swift,
shows.
I mean, I feel like Taylor Swift has found her kind of like voice.
Sorry, I have my donations
in politics. And she's like a woman. Like, the reason I bring her up is she's somebody that's just been like kind of really unfairly targeted by the media. And like, you know, harassed about like who she's seeing and like, oh, who's her boyfriend now. I feel like she's like another example of like women kind of in modern day who have kind of been like, you know, enough is like enough. Like, I'm so tired of people asking me those questions and I'm not going to answer them.
I mean, on a night that Taylor Swift won, I think she won like 3 Grammys, you know, this female interviewer says, you know, enough about the Grammys. Everyone wants to know the most important question of the night. Who are you going home with? And it's just...
Yeah.
Exactly. When did this happen? Was that recent?
This is in the past 5 years. It's in the past 5 years for sure. I think it was 2016 or 15. But so it's just, I mean, Taylor Swift has had to be extremely vocal about it because
it's really somebody that's been like,
it's because she rose up as well in a time of, and that's what it is a lot of the time, I think, with these younger women who, you know, grow out of their innocence into like strong, like young women, is that people see that as a threat and they want to like continue to try to tear it down.
And I guess also like the fact that she writes music about so many relationships as well, probably another reason people talk about it. But you know, like, while we're not like dealing with like the extent of harassment we once were, I feel like history does have like this funny way of repeating itself. You know, years ago, women were like harshly criticized for, you know, just like the clothes that they wore, and were even like banned for just the clothes that they wore on Twitch. And even though like years have passed, it still seems like the platform and people on the platform just cannot quit policing women's bodies and still feel entitled to openly bash like other women, and you know, just for being like open with themselves and comfortable with their bodies. And I think like we can like kind of talk about how sexual liberation has really like just changed during our lifetime, and I think we can get into that. I think that's really important to get into, but I think before we get into that, it's really important to like look at the history of like the sexual liberation movement. So let's kind of like go into this next topic here. So we have like the free love and like sexual liberation movement of like the 1960s. In 1961, the first pill, the pill, was sold throughout Germany to help with planned pregnancies and relieve period symptoms, and almost like in this shameful type of way, and this like very small writing, like the bottle also noted that it could help prevent pregnancies. And by 1968, it became popularized, and it made its way to America. You know, and as a direct result of this, women began to feel more comfortable with talking about their sexuality and their needs. Women were beginning to see that sex was meant to be something that was to be enjoyed by both parties and wasn't just exclusively for male enjoyment. It was something that women were finally like talking about, and their sexual lives improved because of it. And I know
because
this
of
seems
the pill. right? Like that was like
oh my god, yeah,
right? Like the pill and just like the invention of that.
Well, yeah, like the invention of the pill,
and
was
then the
really
fact looked down upon too, right? Like whenever like people were chastising women for taking the pill, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So there was like a lot of like just like negative side effects, like or not negative side effects, but there was a lot of criticism of the pill. And I think that it's like
my diaphragm.
I feel like one of the things that just like really speaks to how kind of like impoverished like women like were like sexually is the fact that this like myth of the vaginal orgasm book like became this huge thing. So
it did like, and they were just like, oh, it's made up. There's not one.
Yeah. So
and wait, I'm like, it was written by a woman.
Yeah, so it was written in 1968, and because
by
this
Anne
material,
Cote. I'm like, what the fuck are you trying to do to us, Anne?
No, so Anne Cote was a New York radical feminist. If you like know about feminism, you know her name because she's kind of known for being a little fucking crazy.
Oh, I see.
She wrote this book, and it kind of like blew up across like America. She wrote this in 1968, but because it was seen as like so salacious, like it was never published till 1970. But in this book, she wrote about the myth of the vaginal orgasm. And, you know, it was like kind of like breaking down like this past like belief that Sigmund Freud had put into place about like these laws and theories on female sexuality. And once having like this kind of like broken, like, and her kind of like breaking this myth, like women started to talk about like their sexuality more. And it just like everything changed because of the pill. Like it really did. So not just like the fact that women were able to start pursuing, you know, their careers in different ways they weren't necessarily able to before, because before this time women were so terrified to get pregnant, and you know they couldn't necessarily live out the lives that they wanted to because they didn't have this pill. So it really was this very revolutionary thing.
I mean, around this time, isn't like this the time where porn started getting like really popular in general too, like the 70s, right? Because wasn't there a time where porn was like considered to be illegal?
Yeah, right. It was super taboo, really up until the 80s and 90s, and then it kind of became more gonzo pornography, right. And more of that like, you know, rough, like really like the scenes. It was those like, you know, like those like you get 10 scenes for I don't know, like $40 on a VHS tape or whatever in the 90s type of stuff. But yeah, you know, in the 70s, it kind of started to become more mainstream, which was great for women. And it was so revolutionary because, you know, in one way we like kind of had to have that happen to get where we were going. But, you know, in that time, like Linda Lovelace, for example, kind of was on the come up in the pornography industry. And she was in the first movie that was ever released in like cinemas, like in real theaters. I don't think I can say the name on stream because it's TOS, but it was a film you can look up.
No, you can say it if it's for educational purposes.
Oh, okay. Well, Linda Lovelace was in Deep Throat, which, you know, it was her ordeal, which is what she ended up writing about 9 years later, when she came out and, you know, kind of talked about her abuse and her life as kind of, you know, the things that, you know, women are kind of oppressed, and she was abused and like a battered woman. But, you know, it was her sexual era, you know, her kind of awakening that started a revolution twice, really.
I don't know a lot about Deep Throat. I feel like you guys know a little bit more about it, but what was like the reception of Deep Throat whenever it came out in the movies?
hugely successful.
Yeah, it achieved like box office.
One.
Like it achieved like huge box office success.
And I'm like, what exactly like is it? It's just porn.
It's an actual pornographic film.
Yeah, it's a pornographic film where it's 5 men basically that Linda Lovelace, you know, does. Can I still say it?
Yeah, no, since it's for educational purposes, it's fine.
It's for educational purposes. You know, she does what the title entails, and she, you know, deep throats these 5 men. But what really was going on behind the scenes was that it was like at a rundown Los Angeles, California hotel room, and that her husband Chuck Trainer actually like basically held her at gunpoint and made her perform these acts. And made her pursue kind of the career for several years.
And that was what she wrote her book about years later.
And she became an anti-porn advocate in her last years of her life.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and then she died of a car accident. I actually wanted to perform a piece from her and debate when I was in high school, and I was going to perform her book, Ordeal. It's just like a piece, and my teacher wouldn't even let me.
Oh. She's just like somebody who I guess has lived like a very tragic kind of life.
Yeah.
It sounds.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, definitely during this time, there was a huge shift and change and like societal norms. And there was definitely a dramatic shift in traditional values related to sex. Like, the first like film that had erotic sex like in it at all was in 1969, and it was Andy Warhol. And then the next big one was Deep Throat, and that was like the first pornographic film. And, you know, it reached like huge box office success in America and the United States. So this definitely like was a big shift, and it really showed, I don't know, it really changed how sex was viewed previously.
So I guess like, you know, with like the sexual revolution that kind of like happened, like we were saying, like in the 60s and 70s with like the rise of like the pill and like free love and pornography and whatnot. Of course, there was a people against it.
Yeah.
Right? The Christians.
Right. So like a lot of people saw like all of this, like not just like the fact that there was like these sexually liberated women, but like really everything about this going on to be an issue and just like a threat to the American family. So like really during like the 1960s and generations previous, like the ideal virgin bride, like we think of that now and it sounds so disgusting. Like it really just sounds gross, but like that was the ideal bride. You know, women were expected to be virgins until they were married, like at this time. And like there was this expectation like that the pill would be this threat to women. And you could even see how it's like advertised in this like Yasmin campaign. That's right, boys, I'm on the pill. And she has these like men like crowding around her, and it's just like really kind of disturbing to like
it is about. It's kind of like, oh shit, we can just fuck this woman and she won't
get
pregnant.
Isn't that just so weird?
The gang's all here,
right? So like unmarried women who took the pill were seen as like a threat to the institution of marriage, you know, but despite the
they
pill,
didn't want children.
Right. And like despite the pill and like the sexual revolution that was going on, like young people were still getting married at a very, very high rate, like much higher than today's standards. And in reality,
especially in the 60s, because people were going off to war and people were getting married at 18 years old and 17, 16.
Right, exactly. So it really seemed to have very little effect on like the institution of marriage. But But the sexual liberation movement did have other like effects though. And I mean, I think like one of the things, you know, definitely was like the women's like, you know, like sexual liberation, you know, the pill was a huge thing. Like, and like something else like that came kind of like at the same time was like, you know, feminism.
The demise of the American family. Or
well, yeah, right. Well, and like there was like, I mean, it's kind of like there was women that were leaving their husbands. Like they were like at this point where like they had enough, and it's like early feminists, like even some of them, I feel like had the right idea, and like a lot of, you know, some radical feminists were like, we should leave men altogether. You know, we should be lesbians. And I'm like, you know, they were queens. They were right. I'm just like, you know, but like they talk now, like a lot of them talk, you know, later, many years on. I was watching an interview with actually Cote, who was like one of these women who believed that maybe we should all just be lesbians. And, you know, she said that she didn't believe that now. And she, you know, was a lesbian and realized she was a lesbian. But I mean, that kind of like also was a big part of like the sexual liberation movement of the 1960s. And I know this all sounds crazy, but this is all going to come full circle, I promise. So I went to the next slide. And I think like one of the other big things that came with the sexual revolution was like the LGBTQ movement and Stonewall, you know, so you know, even like at this time of like unprecedented like social change and like all of these like liberal views, and like it was coming off of like the civil rights movement too. So like there were these different views on how people should be viewed and treated, but like being gay was still like widely viewed as wrong, even during this time of like this sexual liberation movement, which is really, really crazy to think about. But like a lot of people viewed, you know, being gay as like a mental illness, and instead of like a legitimate sexual orientation, you know, throughout the 1950s and 1960s, the overriding opinion of the medical establishment was that homosexuality was a developmental maladjustment. But, you know, despite the sexual revolution, you know, gay people were still very, very oppressed. And in the 1960s, everybody had like every state in the 1960s had these like anti-sodomy laws that like specifically targeted gay people. And it was like,
and they specifically targeted gay porn more too,
oh,
right? Like
yeah.
Stores that sold like gay porn were targeted especially.
And raided, and people could go to prison for many years.
For just selling.
There would be real raids.
You know, and like because of this, you know, very, very few establishments welcomed gay people in the 1950s and 60s. So many of those establishments that did allow gay people were ran by organized crime groups due to the illegal nature of the gay and LGBT bars at the time.
The area where Stonewall was like it was ran by like the mafia, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
right. Well, the Stonewall Inn was owned by the mafia. And you know, it catered to like a huge kind of group of people, and that's like something else that people will talk about with like the Stonewall. And like there was transgender people there was homeless people there was a really big variation of people that lived in like this area, and saw like
Greenwich Village in New York, which is like, you know, a melting pot of people,
right?
And I mean, especially at this time, I mean, imagine the mafia
during this same time, there was like
1960s.
During the same time, I think this is correct, there was like also, you know, like a huge civil rights movement going on, and I'm pretty sure like the Black Panthers like marched with the people at Stonewall like as it was happening. Isn't that true?
Right.
Weren't they like right there with them? Which is something that you also do see like throughout history is you know, like marginalized groups of people of color and like marginalized groups of LGBTQ plus people kind of like sticking together. Like it is one of those things that you've seen like throughout different civil rights movements.
But yeah, it's very true. And like, because like, you know, we talk about Stonewall and, you know, because of like these things that Stonewall and was like related to and illegal nature, they were like very susceptible to raids, and they were a regular routine on gay bars in the 1960s anyway. But you know, officers quickly like lost control at the Stonewall Inn on June 28th, you know, which is like a very big day. So that
it's a day that they won't teach in public schools because it would turn kids gay to teach about Stonewall. It's just like insane how people act about that, but that's a whole other topic.
June 28th, 1969. So the pill became became accessible in America in
people were 1968 able to put in their purse and take it with them on the go.
Right. So this like it really like all of this, like everything that was happening did just create a dramatic shift in like sexuality, how we view sexuality. And you know, these people definitely, they organized these, you know, activist groups, and they established places for gay men and lesbians and everybody of the LGBTQ to have a place to go without fear of being arrested or like worse.
You know how they'll say like throughout history, you know, like you'll always see like a pendulum kind of switch, like right after times of like great progress, it will be followed by times of like kind of like oppression. Like after we make all of this social progress, you know, the conservatives, they're fucking mad about it. They're like, no, this is too much. We've taken it too far. So then like the Christian will go crazy, and there'll be like the satanic panic type shit happen, you know? But I think that right now, I'm like, are we going to see like a pendulum shift back, you know? Because like right now, like we've just seen like so much sexual liberation with like women, and you know, like how women are doing on OnlyFans, and you know, just like taking charge of their sexuality and whatnot. Like, are we starting to see men get more angry about it, right?
Thanks.
I mean, I don't think that we're going to take away from the progress we've made, but it's just like with the progress we've made, there's some very fucking mad people, you know?
Right. And like, I mean, and that's been history, you know, like there were people that were very, very opposed to all of this at the time, you know, on all ends. And like that kind of like brings us back into like the sex work thing. And like the early days of sex work. Like, I think like this is important because I mean, like the first edition of Playboy was like published in 1953, but it really didn't become like sexualized, or it didn't become mainstreamed until the sexual revolution. This was like years after like Marilyn Monroe had even like posed in like Playboy, which is like kind of crazy. Like whenever you like think about it, and which I just found interesting, but like nonetheless, like the magazine did rise to popularity, you know, in the 60s, and especially in 1964, I think.
It started becoming more circulated because pornography was so hard to actually get your hands on. It was one of the only like things you could get in a brown paper bag, and like take it home and like look at it. Basically, it was like one of the first tangible pieces of, you know.
Playboy has always been considered to be like more tasteful.
Yeah,
right?
More artistic, and Hustler's been more of the like like hardcore.
Yeah.
And then Penthouse is like kind of like a little bit like in between.
I feel like Penthouse kind of catered more towards women.
Is sex work? Are they fucking their clients? I mean, no, but I still would say that.
I think it's like a type
I think
of
it's
digital
very
sex
related.
Work.
You know,
like but you know, like despite this,
it's
though,
selling
like,
sex.
Like despite the fact this became like mainstream, like it didn't rub like everybody the right way, especially like early feminists. Like many feminists like saw the publication as a problem because at the end of the day, like the money was still going into like Hugh Hefner's pockets, and it was like still a man calling all of the shots. You know, it was still a man like doing all of the editing. And, you know, others had an entirely different issue with it. And they believed that the magazine perpetuated this idea that we are just like these sexual objects. But, you know, like how, like, nonetheless, like there's no feminist leader or like there's nobody really in charge of the movement. So women were able to like draw their own conclusions about this. And I feel like one of the things that's like so different now with like OnlyFans and like sex work back then, or like being in like Playboy back then, is it's like now like women finally have like the chance to be like, yeah, this is my content. Like it's women put it back more in their hands. Exactly.
And I feel like that's what I see men getting fucking mad about, which just annoys the fuck out of me.
And that's what, from what, listening to kind of the history of the early days of sex work and just the history of people kind of being minoritized. And, you know, the fight has not changed against the person we've been fighting for, or, you know, against for the whole time. It's been the same person, the same archetype.
It's true.
Which is the white man is the archetype. I mean, it is. It's just the facts.
The patriarchy.
Yeah, it's the patriarchy. And, you know, I think just as much as someone could say and then, you know, I think that this is a question for you guys in the chat too, and also Holly and Casey yourselves. Did sex work ruin the American family, or did people having to go to work and leave their homes? Like, I mean, because at the same time, you know, like I said, people were going off to war at this time. Women also had to take on jobs at this time, which previously in the 50s and before, they did not. I mean, women didn't work typically outside the home.
And it was viewed as like taboo, and like job listings were even like listed as like male or female line of work.
Yeah, and the laundry, you know, I was reading an article and it was saying how the invention of like the laundry machine was like really like this revolutionary thing for women, because it really was just like, oh my goodness, here you are.
This will save you so much time.
Yeah, this will save you so much time.
It's a revolutionary thing for anyone.
You're gonna be able to
put it's wild.
More time into your husband's dinner, and that's what he deserves.
But I mean, like some people like will say that it's like all gone too far, and like maybe we're just like glamorizing sex work.
Oh yeah, so that's the next thing that because you know, it's like we need to try to look at the other side of the coin, right? Like the people who are upset with where we are in like sex work and stuff right now, right? So, you know, I tried to look a little bit like into like how like some of the women who are against it feel, and like the overall message that I got was they feel that sex work has become like too glamorized. You know, like, oh, you're a hot girl and you need money, just go and fucking sell nudes, like you'll be rich, it's amazing, it's so easy, it's so fun, you know? And like is it bad that we're making women feel like the only way they can be liberated is through sex work? Like, what about, you know, getting a degree?
I also feel like it's kind of like this unrealistic notion that like anybody can go and do that. I feel like it's kind of like almost like evil in a way to like, I don't know, put that on every woman as well. But like I do like, yeah, I think like definitely there's been kind of like a line that's been like crossed in like a lot of areas. But there's definitely like a difference between like being sexually liberated and being like and then like female empowerment as well. Like, and I think like they can go hand in hand, absolutely, because to be sexually liberated is, you know, to feel free of like all of, you know, from like stigmas and, you know, things of that nature. So like, of course that can be empowering, but I think to like teach that that's like what is the most empowering thing a woman can do is definitely harmful. So I don't think that that's good to teach.
And I think that, you know, there's definitely some really like awful sides to, you know, sex work in that industry, you know, just like we were talking about with Linda Lovelace and how she was abused during, you know, like you hear about that kind of stuff a lot. So I feel like we need to be aware of that happening, you know, like not just, you know, focus on the good. I think that there's a lot of recognition we need to put on the bad side of it to be truly sexually liberated, and maybe we're just a little bit too focused on the being sexually liberated part about it. We're not thinking about how there's this other half of it that still needs a lot of work with like women being abused in the sex industry, you know, sex work not being legalized, opening more women up for abuse, sex trafficking, you know, all kinds of awful stuff.
Yeah. And like there's so much more than that even. I mean, because like I mean, STD rates are at an alarming high right now. Like STD rates are skyrocketing. It was something I was looking into earlier, and
that is the one disadvantage about having these online content creators being able to take their own platform onto their own hands, is it makes them responsible. And I think that's where we need to be. It's hard to say where we draw the line at in the sex work field, because something that major production studios would require every single time you would do a scene was an STD test. They required you to do a lot of screening. I mean, not a single person would pass through Vivid Entertainment with an STD. But with, you know, OnlyFans and content creation on your own, you have that
it's like a free market range. So
it's a free market.
These I'm is sex worker is the right term, but like girls who do sex work online or like online with other people.
I've just been calling it digital sex
work. I guess they need to make sure if they are like having partners, they're thinking about monitoring that themselves.
And I'm sure like, you know, and I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are. I'm not saying they're not, but I'm just saying in general that is what I think the biggest concern for me in the industry like that we're getting into is like because it has shut down these major companies that had the financing to continue to do testing on a regular, consistent basis. And you know, that's just a whole other conversation, the whole STD conversation. But
I mean, it's like this other way of like history kind of repeating itself, because, you know, we kind of saw like from the sexual revolution, like shortly after there was, you know, like the AIDS pandemic, like there's this being sexually liberated, but you have to be educated. You have to take care of yourself. You have to see your body as like something that's valuable. You know, to be sexually liberated doesn't mean that your body is invaluable. Your body is the most valuable thing, you know? So I think it's important to also understand, like, you have to, like, you still have to treat your body like it's important, right? And I mean, it's like, it's really like throughout time, we've seen it again and again. Like, and, you know, with Linda Lovelace, she was horribly abused, and by today's standards it would be called sex trafficking.
Well, and you know, I think with Linda Lovelace, she started the revolution twice, in my opinion. You know, first starting the sexual mainstream revolution, but then also denouncing it in the same breath 10 years later. Which had a lot of her harsh critics really quick to just say, like, the typical stuff. Oh, a woman abused. Oh, a crying wolf situation. A woman who regrets it. She looked too happy. She looked like she enjoyed it too much. And it's like, well, with a gun to your head, what do you do?
Here's a few tweets that I pulled. I'll just read them off really quick. This is just like some stuff I found looking up, like the different take on like women who are more against sex work, or not necessarily against it, but against how sex work is being glamorized, I guess. It is strange how men and boys are encouraged to be empowered by taking positions of authority, MPs, judges, doctors, lawyers, etc., but women and girls are taught it is empowering to dance naked for men, to perform for men, that our power is in producing male pleasure. Do you think that's taught to women?
I feel like
I guess really like to a certain degree maybe it is. Like women are like kind of taught, like I don't know, like I wouldn't say that women aren't taught to like go for like, you know, like doctor and lawyer careers. Like I think a lot of parents like tell their daughters like, oh, you can become a doctor and a lawyer, like most parents do for their kids. But I think like to, I guess a certain extent growing up as like a woman, there is like more emphasis put on your appearance and like what you look like, I guess.
I feel like things have just kind of changed anyway, because it's like, I definitely feel like there's so many parallels between now and the sexual like revolution of like the 1960s, like even like the downsides and like, you know, negative effects, like because a lot of people will say that the sexual revolution of the 1960s was like one of the worst things to happen to America. I mean, and like that's, I mean, it's a popular view to some. And now we have like this kind of like digital like sexual revolution, and that's like the only way I can kind of describe it. And you know, like the 1960s, like people began to feel more comfortable, to feel like they could talk about sexuality, they could talk about, you know, their own experience with sex. They started breaking down gender roles, and even gender identity was started to be talked about at that time. And now with the rise of the internet, we see people a lot more comfortable to talk about their sexuality and, you know, the sex that they might have. And we've seen people not only completely break down, you know, gender roles, but we've even started to like break down like this whole idea of gender identity as well, that it's something you're just like born with, you know, you're born as either male or female. That's completely been broken down now, which was something people in those early days were fighting for. And now there's that, and then there's, you know, like this idea that women are sexually liberated and they don't have to deal with these same, you know, stigmas that they had to deal with, that it's okay to have like cleavage, it's okay to show off your body, and it's okay to be sexually liberated. And it comes, you know, like the 1960s, there was also the critics of it, and there were also feminists that said, you know, this is harmful. We're trying so hard to break down these ideas that women are just these sexual objects. You know, something that was like popular is, you know, that feminists would like go and protest like beauty pageants, which is like something that would not happen today necessarily, because to some women that can be empowering. You know?
Well, a beauty pageant probably wouldn't be under the same stipulations, and and is it, and you know, and that also is the question, you know, that people ask as well, and it's a topic for another time perhaps.
Yeah, it's a totally different topic.
You know, are beauty pageants dated?
Right,
that is a good topic. You know, but I guess like bringing this all together, I don't know, I feel like as we make social progress, you know, it's like everybody wins from social progress, right? We're moving in the right direction.
That's the the sales pitch.
Right.
Yeah. And I feel like, especially like with this kind of like digital age, because it's like, it is like everything that we like really see, everything we consume, like all the content that we consume, it's like digital content. So I feel like the best way to describe this is like, you know, like this digital like sexual revolution, like, right, in a way. And I feel like with that there's just going to be like these effects of like, yeah, like women are going to feel comfortable to stream online in a bikini. I you know, and I feel like that's just part of it. Like that's just a part of this whole thing, I guess.
Absolutely. And you know, whether or not we're able to really put our finger on what will be the next like tipping point in the sexual revolution, you know, whether it be pools or the next, you know, pools and beds or the next thing, or
yeah, it's always
I don't really think it's necessarily part of like a sexual revolution. I just think it's like a side effect of it, I guess is what I was trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a side effect of the fact that people do feel sexually liberated now. Like people see things so differently now. So, I mean, I think it's just a side effect. I don't really think that like necessarily streaming in a hot tub is like breaking any glass ceilings. And I'm not saying that in like a derogatory way.
But we're not saying it's not either.
I just think it's like I think it's a side effect maybe of glass. I think it's a side effect. Yeah. Yeah.
You're opening the envelope.
It's true.
But yeah, you guys, this is our first episode of our Recreational Use Podcast. It's just us getting together and talking about things that are of interest to us. Who knows what it could be? You know, we were just talking about a beauty pageant idea. That would be a good one. Next week,
someone write that down.
Next week, we're actually going to be talking about Marilyn Manson. Marilyn Manson controversy, which honestly, like, whenever we first started talking about it as a topic, I was kind of like, I don't know. But the more I've looked into it, the more I'm just like, this shit is fucking wild. Like, Marilyn Manson is awful, and I'm excited to tell you guys about how awful Marilyn Manson is, because holy shit. But that's our next
He's more awful than we knew.
It's true.
Be sure to follow us all on Twitch too. Mods, link all of our Twitches if you could. Holly streams regularly on Twitch. Holly Cannabis, also my sister. Why we sound so much alike. A lot of people are like, oh, their voices sound so much alike. And then Shania West also streams. Shania West 69. If the mods could drop some links in the chat. Also my sister. But yeah, do you guys like have some time, or do you gotta get going soon? Like maybe we could like answer some questions.
Yeah, let's answer some questions.
Yeah. I mean, anybody has any questions about like what we just talked about, or maybe like comments about the show, feedback if you liked it, or maybe topics for another time, let us know.
Yeah, for sure. I will say people are still hot on that because the Bad Bobby stuff is so new. It's like the hot new gossip, which I mean the fact it would happen today. I mean, whether or not, you know, she's too young or whatever, shows that she's, first off, too smart, because she just made $1 million off of the internet in a day. She just paid for her whole college tuition if she chose to go to college, which she now can do, which 5 years ago she probably couldn't have done. So I think it's great.
That's true.
What is my opinion on Twitch going back to just gaming content? That would be fucking awful and dumb.
Oh yeah. That's like, and that's like kind of like the point like I have with this whole like, let's just like, I don't feel like we should give in to these people, because it's like, it terrifies me like what could happen. I'm like, are they gonna start like being like, oh, her shorts are too short? Are we gonna get like rules like Mixer, like a dress code like how they had? I'm like, don't give in to those. We can't give in to these people. That was my point. But like, honestly, I guess like my question to like the viewers is, how did you guys feel about the topic? How do you guys feel about like our take?
I honestly feel like we really nailed it. I did not expect our first one to go that well, Because we like kind of just like, we were like, let's think of a topic. We'll put together a quick slideshow just with like some talking points and we'll just talk. Yeah, I'm like, wow.
Well, I feel like it ended up, it did end up being more educational. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna be editing it into a podcast too, and the podcast version will be like edited to be a bit shorter, like trim off some of the fat kind of stuff. So I'm excited to see what the edited version will be like on Spotify whenever we get it up.
Yeah. Looking forward to it, honestly. I think it was a really good first podcast. And I hope it did, I know that we only have 18 and up in our chats, which is great. So I know that anyone who's 18 and up going into adulthood, which I know is a very big responsibility, can now at least go into it thinking about if they want to pursue a career in hot tubs. Making them or being in them.
Or selling them. There's so many avenues.
I think we did pretty good at being serious too. Because we always do so much like fucking around and joking around. We were like, let's try to sound like more smart. There was like a point where I was just so high and I was like, oh my god, we're being so serious. And I just started laughing. I was like, wow, look at us being serious.